Man, it's been a while since I talked about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Let's get back to why it's so shit.
If I'm honest, I might enjoy this.
I did a video on my disappointments with how the show treated Bucky Barnes. Be sure to check that out by clicking the card in the corner or in the link in the description down below. Let's cut to the chase. Karli Morgenthau is just god awful in almost every particular way. As I've mentioned in my Bucky video, one of the biggest problems in the show was the fact that they had to balance so many characters in just 6 episodes. This issue becomes even more apparent when we look at the Flag Smashers. More on them in a bit. The show does everything in its power to make Karli seem like a sympathetic character, when the visuals, actions, and acting do not justify that whatsoever. To start this up, according to the upcoming Mexican Falcon, the Flag Smashers are an organization of people that believe that life during the 5 year blip was the best, and they want to go back to those times, with Sam's response of,
Every time something gets better for one group, it gets worse for another.
Every time.
Every time.
a shitty setup for what happens later in the show. I would like to remind you that we're talking about something that affected everyone from not just across the earth, but the entire universe. But we'll come back to that little nugget. Back to the motivations, the show provides 3 of them. The first one is to make a world without borders. The second one is to return the world back to the way it was, like during the blip. And the third is to have the GRC help the people that the Flag Smashers, want, and not the choice from the GRC themselves. Well, now, let's begin.
Shall we?
A world without borders and possibly being run by one government/organization is just virtually impossible to consider. Removing the borders will give nations the problems of working with said areas within that nation. Naturally, the solution would be to aim smaller, and even that might be too big, so they create smaller areas. Once you keep going, the use of countries, states, districts, counties, and cities have returned back into the world. The sort of motivation is not really explored for the rest of the show compared to the other two, but this is a small yet simple understanding of the problems that can occur without borders. On to the second piece of motivation, there's the problem of wanting the world to go back to the way it was like during the blip.
Back to the Dark Ages.
Wait, hang on. Back to the way it was like during the blip. Do they not realize they don't have a magical device that could allow that to happen? Without that, good luck trying to get past all those that oppose you and your mission in trying to kill half a planet without any sort of resistance. I am aware of the rumored virus plotline, which might have been the way they would have explored motivation too, but since that does not appear in the final cut, I will not mention it. I would recommend the video that Nando v Movies did, breaking that rumor and his theory around it if you do have the chance. Link in the description. As for the third motivation, it's clear that asking for an organization to help a specific group of people and not who they were created to help is just selfish. What I do want to focus on is the biggest issue that stems from the Flag Smashers is that they tell what happened, but it's not shown what happened. There's a good amount of questions that could have been explored with the Flag Smashers. How exactly could anyone get through the courses of these actions during the blip? Why would people think that times were better than the current situation after bringing people back into the world? Questions that get glossed over like the many problems that would occur after the 5 year blip, where half the world is gone, then everyone else is brought back into the world. That's a narrative problem that will just occur for any Marvel product past Endgame, but a certain plague doctor is working on that discussion at the time of this video. So with the motivations out of the way, let's talk about the team, starting with the Flag Smashers outside of Karli. They're not characters in any sense of the word. They're just henchmen that only listen to Karli. They don't think for themselves outside of that one Australian guy, but even he does not have any sort of spine to commit to any sort of actions when he believes that Karli is doing bad things. I'll get more into specific moments as I go through the events of the show. Karli has a frustrating amount of naivety that becomes more and more clear as to why they decided to make the character so young for the show. I'll also switch the gender. I'll go in order of the show for the convenience of keeping some sort of consistency, but don't worry, viewer. Her incompetence will be broken down thoroughly. Her first appearance is when Karli is suspected to be a hostage by Sam and Bucky. Something I was unable to point out in the Bucky video is the fact that Red Wing showed that this hostage was shown to be in the back truck, but Bucky runs to the front truck and Karli was still there.
How embarrassing. How embarrassing.
Great job, guys. Bucky is talking to Sam through the comm and tells him about how he found the hostage and the shipment of vaccines that the Flag Smashers were stealing. Instead of Karli having the advantage of Bucky suspecting she's a hostage, instead of using this as a point of leverage to goad Bucky into telling her what he knows about the Flag Smashers, Karli gives an evil little smile, then she punches Bucky into the other truck. Karli lost her opportunity for showing any sort of intelligence, especially when dealing with the Winter Soldier in her presence. What if the Avengers were involved? Are you willing to risk your organization, your hopes and ambitions for the Flag Smashers to the chance that the Avengers might stop your plans? What if the police were involved? Just because you guys have the super soldier serum doesn't mean that you guys are bulletproof. It's a small exchange, but it sets the foundation for Karli's incompetence. Another part of the Bucky video that I talked about was how Bucky has no business to be so shit at fighting against Karli and the Flag Smashers. His decades worth of combat experience, the super soldier serum, and the vibranium arm are enough for Bucky to beat just about everyone. Karli was said to have the desire of wanting to be a teacher. Somehow this teacher wannabe is capable of going toe-to-toe with one of the greatest assassins in the world. Not only that, she and these chucklefucks are able to fight against trained military people like John, Sam, and Lamar. The show later explains that Sharon Carter was the one who taught Karli how to fight. Bullshit. Sharon is not enough of an explanation for Karli's capabilities as a fighter. During the shit fight on the trucks, Lamar is placed in a chokehold, and John was able to shoot that Flag Smasher. Notice at where the entry point of where the bullet ended up. Right at the heart. You would think that the Flag Smasher is dead, but nope. Turns out he's fine with a sling later. That's not how Super Soldier Serum works. Captain America in the Winter Soldier film showed that bullets can slow him down. A well-placed shot can end Captain America, regardless of the Super Soldier Serum. But nah, let's give the guy the sling. Another point I'd like to give in this ridiculous truck fight is that Karli kicks Lamar hard in the chest as he falls off the truck. Knowing how a similar hard hit is what killed Lamar later in the show, makes this and the hit that John takes before he ingests the Super Soldier Serum, it reminds you where the power scaling might be off, or in layman's terms, whatever the plot wants.
This is bullshit.
After the Flag Smashers manages to escape the team, literally, how could they have possibly have done that? They were on a one-way road the entire time, and even if we ignore that, did Sam forget about putting a tracker on the trucks like he did in Civil War? Anyways, after the Flag Smashers escape, they go to a hideout, and one guy talks about how they're currently trending on the internet, and he says he's going to try and scrub out their aliases. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know you could delete a section of the internet. You can't. Ever heard of a digital footprint, dumbass? Maybe if it was Ultron or Vision doing it, then maybe. They might have some sort of power to get rid of that shit. But the real issue with this, it's fucking pointless. If Interpol knows who you people are, if you are trending on social media, if people have a name and face on the internet, that's it. You have been successfully identified. And as if deleting a section of the internet removes the memories of the people who read that information. As if people don't know how to print wanted posters with names and faces and where they have last been seen, you numpty. Karli gives this little speech to the other Flag Smashers, which is just a shit explanation of describing their motivations to the audience only. Because the Flag Smashers already know who they are, what they're fighting for, and what they're going to do next. This sort of stuff happens all the time. But there are some other forms of bad exposition, particularly from Sam's point of view. I won't go too much into Sam, that's for a different video. But here's some examples.
He blew up the UN. He killed King T'Chaka and framed you for it. Did you forget that? You think the Wakandans forgot about it?
Yeah, how many people still owe mom and dad something?
All of them? All that's left, for sure.
It might be time to call in a few of those favors. I'm sure there's at least one person in that book who needs closure about something, and you're the only person who can give it to him.
Go away!
Back to the Flag Smashers, the show tries to elicit some kind of emotion by having some Randy sacrifice himself as the power broker, more on that later, sent her men to kill the Flag Smashers. He just drops the telephone pole onto the road, then runs towards the gunners like a fucking idiot. All of this with sad music playing in the background. Now, 3 problems. 1.
I don't even know who you are.
2. What's the point in running towards the power broker's men? That doesn't remotely stop them in any sort of way. You could still run back towards the plane, since the super soldier serum can make you run faster than a car. And 3. You want to know the neat thing about guns? You can just aim it in another direction and shoot something else entirely.
No way!
Yeah, just like the plane that's trying to take off with all the flag smashers in it. You could just shoot the gas tank and end the show early. But Red Devilosa, if that happens, there's no plot. Well, what exactly are we losing here in that case? Also, if the Black Widow movie taught me anything, you can shoot at a plane multiple times and nothing would happen, for fuck's sakes. Let's fast forward to the scene with Dr. Wilfred Nagel in Madripoor. I'm going to talk about what happens, then break it down. He tells Sam, Bucky, and Zemo about how he was recruited by Hydra to work in the Winter Soldier program to recreate the Super Soldier Serum after the failure from the ones that Howard Stark tried to reproduce. After Hydra was disbanded, the CIA picked him up to continue the serum. The CIA provided him 30 years' worth of blood samples of Isaiah Bradley, which he was able to receive the trace elements from the blood to recreate the original serum. Not only that, he was also able to alter the formula just enough so that he could have the subject gain the strength and power of Captain America, but keep the same physical body as before.
No clunky machines or jacked up bodies. Mine was going to be subtle, optimized, perfect.
I'll touch on that in a second, but to finish the context, Nagel was snapped and returned to the CIA, disbanding the program, which caused him to flee to Madripoor, where he received the resources he needed from the power broker to successfully make 20 vials, which were later stolen by Karli. Quick aside, Karli called Nagel at some point and tried asking him to help save her mentor from dying of tuberculosis. After losing one of the greatest achievements that have not been replicated successfully since Captain America, well, there's Bucky and Isaiah. Also Alexei now. But whatever, that's for a different video. Of course, he would be pissed, and he told her to fuck off. This does not seem relevant to what he has to tell Sam, Bucky, and Zemo, but it's meant to achieve that side quest mission in getting a name that connects to the Flag Smashers for later. Having characters spew information that could have been kept to themselves. Great writing, guys. After this story, Zemo does the right thing by shooting Nagel, preventing more super soldiers from happening. Right. Now let's break it down. It's pretty absurd to believe that some scientists had 30 years worth of Isaiah's blood for decades amounted to nothing. It wasn't until some guy, a regular Joe Schmo, was able to figure it out during his time with Hydra Shield and the CIA, not only to isolate the trace elements, but also modify it enough so that the subject can have the strength of Captain America, but also keep the same physical body. Of course they would have to say that was the case, because there's no fucking way anyone would believe that Erin Kellerman with her body frame would match the strength with the body frame of Chris Evans. It is what it is. It's also a bit ridiculous to have all of the strength of Captain America, but the body remains the same. There's the issue with the physics, as having different muscle sizes and mass produce the same amount of strength. The point is, there has to be some kind of physical altercation of the subject for this to work. But with all this was meant to explain how there's more super soldiers running around, why do they look so normal, and give a name for the crew to use later in the plot. Whatever. Glad Zemo killed that guy. So, let's talk about this beautiful scene where Karli uses a car bomb to burn innocent people from the GRC storage facility alive just because they were holding on to supplies. The fucking terrorist.
These labels, terrorists, refugee, thug.
Shut the fuck up!
It's absolutely frustrating to know how this selfish cunt is so naive to the point that she believes that the GRC were bad people for wanting to help those that were affected by the snap, to the point that murdering them was the fucking option. Turns out in the next episode, Karli has to suffer the consequences of her actions as the GRC reinvigorate the Patch Act, which was meant to help reinstate the borders, which was exactly what the Flag Smashers did not want. But Karli is an idiot.
What a surprise.
Another flash forward to Sam walking around a Flag Smasher refugee camp. Everyone is ignoring him when he asks about Mama Danya, because of course they would. He comes across a teacher who talks about how he doesn't believe that Sam would be able to help him because there was once a time when he went to the GRC and asked them to send teachers 6 months ago, and they got nothing.
That's it?
You fucking egomaniacal piece of shit. You don't trust Sam because the GRC didn't help you out. So your solution was to join a terrorist organization like the Flag Smashers as a result. Because the lack of fucking teachers? The organization that was just on the news about burning a supply facility with innocent people. But it's fine because they were GRC members. And let's talk about how this dickhead was sad that the GRC wasn't able to provide him with more teachers. Well, guess what, you fuck? You were alive during the 5 years. You currently have food, water, and shelter. You seem to have some sort of staffing system in place. Karli said she wanted to be a fucking teacher before, but no, GRC bad. This teacher is more accommodated compared to half of the world. The people that would need the attention from the GRC. And it makes sense why they would, you entitled piece of shit. And it gets worse because Sam agrees with him. But we'll get to that later. I want to give one positive portion at this point in the video, and it's a bit of a cop-out because it doesn't have anything to do with the Flag Smashers themselves, but Zemo.
It's what it is.
After having Sam and Bucky be idiots for not being able to get information about Mama Danya's funeral from adults, Zemo uses his brain and tries to talk to the children using Turkish delights. He's able to use this advantage to have the kids tell him where Danya's funeral is taking place. Brains. They're useful. Also, a nice moment for Zemo for mentioning how the candy was his son's favorite. Back to shit. Because Sam is so tied to Karli, he believes that Karli has a point. Mind you, this is after Karli blew up a storage facility filled with innocent people. Bucky was right to call that out on Sam. All of this plants the little seeds for that scene in episode 6. The consistent thing about this show is that the stupid just keeps on rolling. This random flag smasher, we'll call him Randy, Jake.
Nazi!
Karli asked Jake if she was doing the right thing by enhancing more revolutionaries with super serum. This is after learning about killing a father of 2 children who was new on the job.
One of the workers killed was the father of 2, and had only been on the job for 1 week.
Okay, Karli might be...
My grandfather, Lucas, he was a World War II resistance fighter. He always used to tell me if you're doing something and it makes you scared, it's probably because it's the right thing.
He keeps going.
He made me believe that there was decent people in this world. I didn't think there could be another Captain America until I met you.
Stop.
What we're doing will outlive the legacy of that shield.
Damn it, Jake, stop.
That shield is a monument to a bygone era. A reminder of all the people history just left out. If anything, that shield should be destroyed.
What are you on, lithium?
Did the people of this universe forget that Captain America used the shield during World War II, or against his own government, or during the duration of his tenure as an Avenger, and playing a part in saving the fucking world and universe? It wasn't from a bygone era. But nah, shield is bad. So this Mama Danya character dies.
Who?
Exactly. But this makes Karli sad, so please feel bad for her now. Sam wants to use this opportunity to talk to Karli at the funeral to get her to change her violent ways. I'll touch on Sam's side of this scene in a different video, but to get some sort of ball rolling to think about, what was Sam hoping that would happen after this exchange? There's some casual talk which leads to this.
These corporations and the beasts who run them, they're the supremacists. They're not innocent. They're roadblocks in my journey, and I'd kill them again if I had to.
Wow.
No. I didn't mean it like that. You tricked me into sounding like...
She doesn't have the benefit of being drunk or any sort of intoxication, yet she casually says this like she got the Jedi mind trick. There wasn't even anything in the conversation that could have possibly tricked her. Sam just pointed out that you killed innocent people, dumbass. After the writers force John to seem like the bad guy for interrupting their moment, Karli tries to run away. I pointed out how it's insane that Bucky could have lost her, and it was so satisfying for Zemo to shoot her in the gut. It's a shame that he didn't finish the job. Apparently, he thinks bullets can't go through tables.
Soka.
It's also great that Zemo destroyed all but one of the super soldier serum vials after the nail-biting tease that the show writers gave him, pondering on whether if he should take one or not. because the writing for the show has been that ridiculous. Speaking of which, after Karli managed to get away from the team, she gives a little phone call to Sam's sister. She's upset that Sam is working with Captain America, which Sarah has to immediately interject.
I didn't choose him.
It's very subtle.
Karli asks her to have Sam meet with her, otherwise...
Instead of meeting Sam here, I can always meet with you and AJ and Lil Cass there. Maybe out back, by the dock.
So naturally, Sam is upset about hearing this. It seems like Sam might finally realize that Karli is a horrible monster and that she needs to be stopped now. But Karli tells Sam,
Sam, I would never hurt her. I just wanted to understand you better.
Oh! Oh, okay! Well, that makes it okay then!
I fucking hate Karli so much, and we're not even at the worst part yet. Before you can process how retarded Sam and Karli are in this conversation, Sharon tells Sam that the satellites that she pulled out of her ass has tracked Walker going after the other Flag Smashers. Instead of using this opportunity of apprehending or even killing Karli when she's right in front of Sam and Bucky, they prioritize in stopping Walker. No fucking attempt to keep Karli at bay, or possibly attempt to put her down, but she breaks free and runs away. It's so fucking frustrating about how much Sam wants to appeal to Karli's humanity, but John Walker, the man who saved his and Bucky's life, the guy who's done so much for the country, and has proven himself to be Captain America, but nah, John's bad because plot.
Everyone is stupid except me.
After John deals with his version of the disappearing blade from TLJ with the missing Flag Smasher, more fights against the Flag Smashers. Again, it's ridiculous that Sam and Lamar are capable to fight super soldiers without the use of any themselves, or the lack of guns. There's a point where John gets locked in a chokehold and Karli tries to make her way into stabbing him through the heart. Before she could do that, Lamar, the fucking Chad Battlestar, tackles her out of the way, saving his best friend's life. But before John could appreciate his best friend, Psycho Twat punches Lamar so hard that he slams into a pillar, killing him.
Pain.
They try to frame it like killing Lamar was an accident on Karli's part, but when we get to episode 6, well, we'll get there. This sadistic fuck does not care about killing people. I don't buy her running away from the scene as if she was horrified for her actions. She would have achieved her goal in killing Captain America by stabbing him in the back when he's checking on his friend to see if he was alive or not. Fuck it. She would stab John in the heart, snap his neck, and laugh with glee as triumphant music plays in the background. I definitely want to cover the musical choices the show makes for another video. A good example of what I'm referring to was when John Walker killed a Flag Smasher. Of course, the scene was framed to have such a cheap moment to elicit some sort of reaction. I'm sure it was real natural for Jake to talk about how Captain America was his favorite superhero growing up, and his death was placed in the hands of Captain America.
Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme, every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one.
The slow motion, the sad music that treats this horrible action that you have to remember that this guy was a terrorist.
Pathetic.
This guy held John Walker so that he could allow Karli to stab John in the heart. The same guy that tried to throw a water fountain at him, meaning he was still an active threat. I'll talk about the John Walker perspective of this scene in his own dedicated video at some point, but it was the heat of the moment, which happened to be in front of loads of people with cameras. This time the cameras mattered when it came to John killing a terrorist, but the cameras that filmed Bucky fighting a bunch of people in a bar and appeared to show Zemo controlling him to stop fighting had absolutely no consequences because reasons.
What a load of shit.
Somehow, the remaining Flag Smashers that fled the scene after killing Lamar Hoskins, the government-approved Battlestar, the wingman and best friend of Captain America, they somehow returned to the same hideout that the GRC just inspected. Seems like that's a very high level of risk for all of you being on the wanted list and all. But like every other scene, something distracts you from thinking about the last scene.
How many times do we have to pay with our lives just to be citizens of this goddamn planet?
Maybe if you stop killing people, you fucking idiot. Ugh. The line, the delivery by Aaron Kellerman, the logic, it's just fucking garbage. You can't be this naive. Batroc comes back to the show after episode 1 with a suitcase filled with weapons in a public park, because that would totally happen in a world post 9/11, in a world post the blip. These fucking idiots. The Australian guy asks,
"So we're working with criminals now?"
You serious?
You can't be asking this fucking question after the raids you've done as a group, regardless if you believe it's Robin Hood-esque, which you're not. Karli burned innocent people alive and killed Lamar. Then the smug bitch reacts with,
Haven't you heard? We are criminals.
Criminal definition. A person who has committed a crime.
They're stealing medicine, vaccines.
There were still people in there.
This is the only language these people understand.
Well, I guess that checks out, Karli. You go, girl. The Flag Smashers makes plans to attack the GRC conference in New York City by kidnapping the board members so that they do not approve the Patch Act. Otherwise, bad things will happen. More on that in a bit. I do want to touch on the insane amount of fast travel that happens in this show. If you don't know what that is, fast travel is used in video games that could allow the player to go from one discovered location to the next, giving the player the ability to be at the location without the need of traveling there in real time. The Flag Smashers were able to travel from Latvia to New York City without alerting anyone and within a quick amount of time. Another example of fast travel is how Sam was able to go from New Orleans to New York in just about 10 minutes, or at least it appears that way, as the Flag Smashers were not able to start their plans until Falcon arrives. This is one of those situations where other New York-based superheroes would be able to come in and take care of this active threat while Sam should be flying towards New York, which at a normal plane it takes about 3 hours, so maybe about an hour for Sam. Other New York-based superheroes like Spider-Man, or possibly the character that was set up in the first episode but completely forgotten about, War Machine. They'd have no problem dealing with the Flag Smashers because they are very incompetent. Now sure, there's the consideration that other Marvel properties do this as well, as they need to focus on the main heroes, but that doesn't eliminate the issue at hand. If you are wondering, the show takes place 2 months before Far From Home, so Spider-Man is not dealing with his identity being exposed by Mysterio at this time. He would have helped out, and I think it would have been a neat moment for him and Rhodey to be battling side by side dealing with the terrorists. But alas, fuck world building, I guess. Back to the scene, the Flag Smashers gas the conference room and they, disguised as security, help guide the board members into armored trucks. One Flag Smasher gives Bucky a phone, we'll come back to that gem, and he has this full-on conversation with Karli. I talked about how it was stupid for Bucky to just stand there and talk to Karli when he could just walk, or possibly run, towards the other Flag Smashers so that he can help out Sharon. The writers really had Karli ask,
I'm fighting for something bigger than myself. And with all the bodies you've collected, have you ever been able to say the same?
The guy who fought Nazis, the guy who fought against Thanos and his army twice. It's dialogue like this that just goes to further show how fucking naive Karli is, to the point that it doesn't even make any sense how she managed to lead an organization of misfits for months. There's this big-ass Flag Smasher that puts some kind of special lock to the armored trucks in the presence of other GRC members and Sharon, yet nobody retaliates to this action.
そうか。
Holy shit!
So Sharon is certainly a character I'll come back to later. Karli reached a point where things were starting to go against her way, so as a brilliant leader, she tells them that if threatening the hostages doesn't work, then they'll actually kill the hostages. themselves, so that way it will send the message that they want. Look, I know, Red Devilosa, she's the villain of the show. Wouldn't a villain say this? The problem stems from the fact that the music presents this as a sad moment. The writers try to paint them like martyrs for this supposed cause that apparently is being appreciated across the globe. And even with that, they keep doing this moment where all the Flag Smashers look at Karli like she's insane, which she is. But you would think that the number of times that they do this, they might set up for some moment where they betray Karli. She tries to get them to repeat their dumb slogan, but there's a clear point in conflict that they'll get to the point that enough's enough sort of ideal, right? Well, dear viewer, that would imply that these jackasses had some sort of spine. They continue to follow Karli right up until the end, and let's just say that leads to something glorious. But before we get there, the Flag Smashers uses concrete blockades to block off the armored trucks, but because the script didn't mention that they could just set the trucks in reverse, they sit there. There was a moment where a Flag Smasher was heading towards an armored truck, and we'll call him Frank. Frank slowly goes for his gun. There's a point where the door opens and Frank has the gun right at the Flag Smasher, and it turns out that it's Karli. The gun is pointed right at her heart, too. This is it. Frank has the chance to be the best MCU character if he could just use that gun and shoot this terrible monster and wipe her off the face of the... Oh well. Hashtag justice for Frank. Once Bucky arrives at the scene, the Flag Smashers are trying to figure out a way to keep Bucky away. Karli's solution is to burn one of the trucks so that it leaves Bucky out. Just as the Flag Smashers are about to give their sigh of relief, in comes the legend, the fucking Chad himself, John Walker, with his custom shield. I also like when he goes, Morgenthau! But because Karli's a fucking idiot, she decides to say to the man who just lost his best friend, who killed one of your friends, should have been two. The man is clearly angry about something, and she says,
I don't want to hurt people that don't matter.
You know what? I won't say it, because John says it himself.
You don't think Lamar's life mattered?
Look at base John. So more fighting happens. After Bucky gives a very satisfying chain punch to Karli, she has a moment. It's one of those fork-in-the-road type decisions. The first option is to kill John, kill Captain America, and I guess rid the world of its American symbol. I don't know, Karli sucks. Or she could do the second option and kill those innocent GRC members who only wanted to help, create a law to reinstitute the borders, and help those that are currently unfortunate after a 5-year hiatus. Are you fucking with me, show? Karli drives the armored truck off the edge. All the other Flag Smashers celebrate that these innocent GRC members are going to die because death is fun, I guess. Just like Karli's little dilemma moment, John is given one as well. Either save the innocent people in the armored truck, or kill Karli, the one who killed his best friend, and give him and his family the peace that this horrible monster that killed Lamar would have some sort of closure. Not gonna lie, another moment where in the shit show, John could have been placed out of character and just go for brutally killing Karli. Her blood is on his face and screams, I am Captain America. But no. The Chad that is John Walker comes to his senses and tries to save the innocent people. And it's really nice with the reveal that he drops his custom shield to the ground as he starts pulling the truck back. Another little tangent, but this was probably the best scene of Walker trying to pull the truck, and then the flag cunts trying to work their way and getting John to stop. John tries to ward them off with one hand, but it proves to be too much. As they tackle him off, John's first response is an extended arm towards the truck, with the look of desperation and shock. In that fraction of a second, you could feel what's going on in John's head. How he failed these innocent people, how he's going to have to deal with more loss due to his inability to stop the Flag Smashers in time. As he plummets down to the ground, all he can scream is, no! It's a really genuine scene in just 40 seconds. Until Sam comes in and tries to save the truck in a ridiculous way, but that's for a different video. The Flag Smashers split up after Sam does his dumb save. Bucky and Walker are able to track the Flag Smashers with the police due to Bucky using an app with the cell phone that the one lady gave him earlier to speak to Karli. I don't I hope I don't have to talk about what the problem is with this moment, right? I shouldn't have to talk about how fucking stupid it is for anyone to give Bucky access to a phone that could be used to track your fellow flag smashers with a built in GPS. Yes? Quick thing about this app, there's never really any sort of discussion about this. Seems like there would be some sort of encryption to have certain people in the organization use it. But then you remember that episode 1 had Taurus have the app on his phone, and he uses it like he's playing Pokemon Go, where the Flag Smasher logo just pops up. Now there's another red flag that never gets brought up. How did Taurus get this app? There's no indication that he couldn't have just downloaded it off the App Store. If there's no encryption, and Taurus just downloaded the app on his phone, why couldn't Sam, Bucky, John, Lamar, or even the fucking GRC download the app? But let's assume that it is encrypted, because that's the only way this could possibly make sense. Disregarding the obvious question as to why would the Flag Smashers even make an app in the first place, where you have a very high risk of someone else knowing your location. Why would you even bother doing that? That's just fucking stupid. Anyways, the questions of how did Taurus have access to the app and why did he not just provide Sam access or just give him his phone? This app has been shown to track and alert other flag smashers, and it was used to lead them into a trap. And while I'm on the subject of Taurus, the man goes out to Switzerland and approaches the flag smashers that are about to commit a heist at a bank. They hand out masks to everyone crowding around them on a public road, including Torres. He's confused as to what's going on. So it just appears that the Flag Smashers don't really check to see who is a member of their group or not. There doesn't seem to be any sort of background check or any sort of identification that allows them to know that Torres is someone that works for the Air Force. Just goes to show more of their incompetence as an organization, and how they managed to terrorize people for months is beyond me. Also, Torres takes a massive blow to the head by a flag smasher, and all he gets is an ice pack with bruises.
What do you think, Maggie?
Sorry about that tangent. This show is just all over the place. Just when you get the feeling that things are just about to get wrapped up, you remember there's another exposition dump the show got to put in about this power broker they kept talking about throughout the show, but we never got to see. Adding to that point, Sharon and Karli had known each other for some time. Sharon had Karli be her ward, and she trained her how to fight, which, by the way, does not give a valid reason as to why she can keep up with trained military men. There's this weird moment where Sharon has a gun on Karli. She tells her not to try anything stupid, but Karli pulls out her gun on Sharon, and nothing happened. This becomes more odd when you consider the fact that there was a moment where Karli gets a message from the power broker saying that she was going to find and kill her for stealing the super soldier serum vials. Emily Thorne, can you help Sharon out?
I really want to shoot you in the head for what you did to my friend.
Watch season 1 of Revenge. It's great. During the conversation, Batroc shows up and wants to get more money from Sharon. Otherwise, he will kill Karli and expose her as the power broker. Which doesn't even make sense considering that if you kill Karli, there's no way that Sharon was not going to react, as she still has a gun in her hand. So naturally, Sharon does not want to get exposed or give more money to Batroc, so she kills him. This results in Karli firing her gun at Sharon. Which why? Sharon just saved your life. Add another variable to this, Sam arrives and sees that Batroc is dead, Sharon is currently on the ground, clutching her side, bleeding to death, and Karli is pointing a gun at her. Now, if you thought that this might be the final opportunity for Sam to maybe grow some sort of conscience, maybe realize that as his friend is currently bleeding out, he might realize that Karli has gone too far, and he should stop this now. If you thought that, then you weren't paying attention, because Sam doesn't give a flying fuck about Sharon. But Red Devilosa, Sharon is the power broker, you may say. And to that I reply, no, invisible friend, Sam does not know that Sharon is the power broker. There is no possible way that he could know that. Sam continues to not do anything against Karli, even after she tries to shoot Sharon again in front of him. There's the constant back and forth of Karli trying to get Sam to fight her, but he just doesn't want to. There are multiple moments in the fight where Karli could have killed Sam, but she just doesn't. Then there's the final moment where Karli raises her gun at Sam, and they frame it like Sam is completely incapable of stopping this. His wings have been shown to block bullets, his suit is vibranium, but they need to get this dramatic moment, so fuck it. And the most wonderful, most amazing, beautiful thing happens. There's a gunshot, but instead of Sam getting shot, it's Karli. And you see that it's Sharon, this based woman, while still clutching her side, fires 2 more shots into Karli. Yes! Thank fucking God. I will definitely get to Sam in another video, but this shot is very symbolic of his character. After everything this teenage monster has said and done, burning innocent people, saying that she would kill more just to get what she wants, claims that she joked about killing Sarah and her sons, killing Lamar, was almost successful in killing the GRC members. After all that, Sam still cradles her as the lights leave her eyes. And then you see Sharon propped up to the side, still hemorrhaging. She gives this face that pretty much sums up my thoughts. Oh shit. They're actually having a moment. Fucking hell. Honestly, I can't help but feel bad for Sharon as Sam carries Karli to the ambulances with this angelic shot while Sharon has to walk back by herself while still bleeding out. Then she had to listen to Sam's dumb speech, which I'll get to in a bit. Then, finally, she goes on a stretcher. First off, there's no way she would not bleed out within all that time in hemorrhaging. Also, Sam should be grabbing Karli by the leg and dragging her corpse across the pavement. There's also this scroll theory that's been flowing around in regards to why Sharon is acting so weird. I will have to save that subject for a different video. Speaking of which, I will go more in depth with the dumbass speech that Sam gives in the Sam dedicated video. But I want to point out how fucking naive the hero of the show is as the villain. He talks about how the Flag Smashers had this perspective about how the government viewed them as the inferior group of people, as well as not knowing the basic understandings of laws and government. The speech basically amounted to, just print more money.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Thank you, Sam. Literally anyone could have said what you said. As for this notion that the GRC hates the Flag Smashers, they don't. They don't hate your cause or any of that fucking bullshit messaging. They were just trying to help those that needed immediate attention. They were just doing their fucking jobs. The Flag Smashers were just spoiled brats at the end of the day. Speaking of brats, the remaining Flag Smashers were in the process of getting arrested until one guy gives them the Hail Hydra. Then the next glorious thing happens. Zemo's butler, not Alfred, blows them all up. Good on Zemo for killing that Hydra serum maker, and not Alfred for killing the rest of those Flag Smashers. I'm so fucking done with super soldiers. Ah, shit. Apparently the Russians had them in Black Widow. Also, remember there are people sympathetic to the Flag Smashers in Europe, according to Torres, and they were not taken care of. Most likely for a future project for the people to consume.
Don't ask questions. Just consume product and then get excited for next products.
Also, since we've established that Torres is not the brightest bulb in the shed, the question of using the app for the GRC to help capture those that harbored criminals and helped in committing acts of crime is out of the question because the script said so. So it turns out, thanks to Sam's stupid speech, the GRC was not able to go through with the Patch Act.
The group had opposed the global relocation efforts of the GRC, who just this week had announced changes in their overall policies of repatriation and resettlement.
This course of action made it so that the people that were displaced due to the blip are still unable to go back to their homes. Far From Home takes place 2 months later, and they're still dealing with the struggles that apparently could have been solved prior if it wasn't for Sam. This is now pretty funny as to how people thought Spider-Man would be the new leader of the Avengers when there's a new Captain America flying around. You could take it as a cheap shot to him. It also appears as if the borders were not reinstated, so it looks like the Flag Smashers actually got what they wanted. More homeless people. Great. Wonderful characters. Wanda does her best to show the current state of the MCU.
It felt like that.
Karli had to be one of the worst Marvel villains in the MCU. That's not a very difficult list to be a part of, in all honesty. Her goals and motivations are just whack. She is not a good leader at all. She doesn't even understand what the hell she's talking about most of the time. The character needed to be someone seasoned and older for this sort of ideology. Maybe someone like Alicia Vikander. She has the charisma and talent to be an effective leader for the Flag Smashers, and at that point, at least Sam simping for her would make some sense. As for Aaron's Karli, it's pretty clear why they chose the character to be a certain way compared to her counterpart. Sam would not give Karli Morgenthau the time of day, in all honesty. But that's not important. What is important is that the show tried to give Karli and her cronies something. The show does not show this dark side to the GRC, which could have given the Flag Smashers something to work off of. There's no evidence as to the GRC embezzling money or doing any sort of crime that would have shown that they're not as good as they seem to be. They just want to help people that are currently struggling after the blip. Having one of the criticisms of the organization as to they didn't help send more teachers, not exactly a terrible situation. You gotta do better, show.
You've got to do better, Senator. You've got to step up.
Ah, fuck's sakes. Even Iron Fist did this better.
This was a fail, guys. These exercises are about trying to teach you how to perform in the real world, so do better.
Before my brain goes on a total relapse,
I'm going to, starting with throwing off the covers and getting the hell off this shitty show. I quit. Yes!
let me know in the comments down below on what you thought about Karli and the Flag Smashers. Also, let me know your thoughts about the show in general. I'd like to take the time to thank a few people for helping me out in this video. I'd like to thank Linked New, Ultraversal, and Unity Kahe from a Discord far, far away. I greatly appreciate the help. Linked plans to create a breakdown on Sylvie from Loki and the amount of problems her character had. Ultraversal is currently working on a fan edit of The Phantom Menace and plans to do one for the MCU. Unity is currently working on his review of Run, Hide, Fight. Then he will work on a 6-part series on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Here's some Wanda clips that will make sense if you know him.
Whoops! You weren't supposed to see how we did that trick. Oh, somebody better be bleeding, broken, or on fire.
Whoa, Mom! Are you old Red Riding Hood?
I'm a Sokovian fortune teller.
Be sure to subscribe to Ultraversal and Unity Kahe in the description down below. As I've teased quite a bit, there will be a few other parts to this series. There's just so much to dissect from this one show, so be on the lookout for that. Here's another tease. If the description of Karli sounded a bit familiar, maybe the thought of the wonderful character that was Finn Mason in the Miles Morales game. If you're interested in these videos, or if you like reviews and opinions on movies, comics, TV shows, and video games, you can support my channel, Red Devilos Reviews, for more of that content. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you soon. Peace.